Hey guys, I've got something interesting here. A little while ago, we did the Teplin Institute of what would happen if the Galactic Empire invaded Earth, and the position of, I believe his name is Incoming, was that we could fight off a full-blown invasion from the Galactic Empire. And the general consensus was of everyone I talked to that he was wrong. The tech lead would be insurmountable. One friend pointed out that they could, literally transport planetary populations and just, swamp us with sheer numbers. Then there's just the sheer fact that they could, paste us from orbit. They wouldn't even have to resort to an orbital bombardment. They could just, drop asteroids on our head until we surrendered. Now, this is something I thought would be an interesting counterpoint. This is Spacedock. Really love Spacedock. Love all their stuff. If you haven't seen Spacedock, check them out. But this I thought was interesting. Why planetary invasions would never happen. So let's see what this is about. I haven't even seen anything yet.
The episode is kindly sponsored by World Anvil. Stick around at the end for more information. Hey everybody, I'm Daniel from Spacedock, and I want to talk about planetary invasions, more specifically why they would never happen in any realistic setting. Now, the concept of invading a planet from space, by literally landing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of troops and tanks and vehicles onto this planet, and then campaigning those people all around the planet, fighting an entire resisting population until they're completely subjugated and you've won, is pretty much literally infeasible, in that it would take so long and be so difficult that it could be reasonably described as going on forever. This is well articulated in the second Expanse book, Caliban's War, when Martian characters talk about how impossible it would be to ever invade Earth, despite it being what all of the propaganda sells the Martian population on. Because the planet is not
big
something
fan
you can drive the enemy out of and then plant a flag. It's not a town or a castle or a city. It's something with an astronomically massive surface area and endless terrain, and basically infinite places where angry resistors could hide in the hills for decades upon decades, and it would just never end. Instead, the shape of planetary conquest in a realistic future setting would be heavily reliant on the most ancient and effective tool of warfare, making the enemy surrender. And it would be quite easy in this context, because if you take over the gravity well of a planet,
E5
ships with weapons on them capable of bombing cities from orbit and destroying them, and there are no other enemy ships or fleets that can come to help, just the people on the planet below, the planet will surrender. If it doesn't surrender, the fleet can threaten to bomb the planet. If it still doesn't surrender, the fleet can bomb the planet a bit, and then they will surrender. If they're insane, if it's an entire planet of self-destructive sociopaths, the fleet will presumably continue to bomb the planet until there's nothing on it, and then just land and build things. But this wouldn't happen because everyone has a basic self-preservation instinct, and no matter how many men with rifles you have, you can't fight off a fleet of warships that's 50,000 miles above you. Nobody's building ships on the planet and launching them in such numbers as to defeat the fleet in space. It's completely impractical. So sieges, bombardment, and more often the threat of bombardment would be the order of the day and the shape of planetary conquest. For this purpose, the only real assault force you would ever need is take-and-hold troops, garrison forces, because the problem of leaving men somewhere in order to make something that you made yours still yours is an ancient one. That problem is never going away.
Boots on the ground.
The troops would be to land and to garrison the planet that you have now taken, not to manually force its population off the planet or seek and destroy all of them over the course of years upon years upon years. This is why in a lot of more realistic science fiction settings, you'll see that armies are basically gone and replaced by Marine Corps, with the only real ground troops in warfare being an extension of the ships that they are attached to.
Connor Harrington series.
Ships and installations and boarding actions, or to keep an eye on a planet or planetoid or astral body that you have just forced to surrender until your government comes along with garrison troops to hold it down. I want to talk more about surrendering and routes in space battles in a future video, because it's a strangely absent concept in a lot of science fiction. Most sci-fi, particularly in visual mediums, is full of soldiers and ship crews that seem incredibly willing to die in battle and never run away or surrender, no matter what the situation is. Not only is this not very realistic, but it also takes away the central concept of how wars have been fought forever, which is not to maximize casualties and death and violence, but to minimize it by provoking surrender. There'll be more on that in a future video. But for the moment, the main topic I wanted to address was that while I acknowledge that things like Star Wars and Halo need exciting ground battles to make their setting interesting,
I'm betting this is a response.
wouldn't exist. Because it doesn't matter if you're 10 guys with rifles or 500 guys with rifles on a tiny island. If there's a giant battleship parked next to the island, none of the potential outcomes involve an invasion of the island. It's just a situation where one side has literally no capacity to win. And when you can't win, if you have any sense, you don't fight. Big thanks to World Anvil for sponsoring this week's
I am betting what money I've got in my pocket he's responding to the Teplin video.
It's a very unique and interesting platform for world building. It's essentially a tool set for writers, novelists, and role-playing game GMs that allows you to create pages to organize your notes or to create articles for the lore of your own universe. It even has systems for putting together interactive maps for fantasy settings, and it'll be a serious help to anyone who has all of those little details and tidbits about their world constantly bouncing around their head and needs to have them.
That's actually pretty cool. I have to look into that.
It's less impressive than a spreadsheet or a big complicated file structure, and instead is a nice kind of decorated, organized template in the style of your world or your genre. It'll help you show off the basic ideas of your world and some details about it, which can support you if you have a novel you're trying to sell, or it can just stand on its own as a showcase of a world that you've created. It even has
That's
systems for
really
monetizing your
cool.
world building and creations, which is a big help to up-and-coming creatives. Sci-fi and fantasy are in desperate need of new blood and new ideas. We live in an age of endless recycling and rebooting, and I'm very happy to support a platform that encourages up-and-coming writers and creatives and gives them a platform to get their ideas off the ground. So please do check out the link in the description. You'll be supporting Spacedock, and I heartily encourage you all to check out World Anvil. Thank you for listening. This is Daniel from Spacedock, signing off.
Okay, now I'm doubly glad that I saw this video because I really want to check that out. Let's look at the comments. I want to see the comments. Okay. Insane entire planet of self-destruction sociopath shows Imperial Guard. Okay, that's a good one. The U.S. Navy and Marines would like to have a word with from World War II with numerous invasions of islands against bad guys with rifles facing battleships parked off the coast. That's a good one. Okay. I really feel like this is a response to the Teplin video, planetary response. Planetary invasion thing. And I agree with him a whole lot more than I did the other guy. And, this has pretty much been the consensus of just about everybody. One, the tech base, well, this is maybe a different situation. But once you've established, spatial dominance, air superiority, once you control the high orbits, it's pretty much over because you can literally just pancake your opponent till they give up. I'm a big fan of David Weber's Honor Harrington series, and that's pretty much what you see for the most part. It's the fleets that decide wars. There is no army, or at least there wasn't much of one. You had the Manticore and Marine Corps, most of which was assigned on ships in small units. And then once the big war with the People's Republic of Haven started, then they slowly had to build up their ground forces to hold planets that they were taking from the Peeps. Now, the one thing about in that universe that's different than what most of this is that we've been talking about is that you are absolutely, totally forbidden from carrying out attacks on a planet that would result in huge civilian deaths. It's pretty much like the number one law of intergalactic relations and warfare. You don't do heavy-duty bombardments of planets. Now, you can do what they call a kinetic strike, which is, Piers Anthony, has that all the way going back to, I think it's Thunderbolt? I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, you basically send a solid slug of metal down to the ground at relativistic speeds and bad things happen. Yeah, this is a much, much better, I think, much more well thought out thing than what we saw from the Teplin Institute. Yeah. And again, I'll bet money this is a response to that. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I got a heck of a hoot out of it. I really like that program there at the end of it, the World Builder. I got to look into that. All right. Okay, I'll catch you guys later. I'm going to have time tonight to work on a few things, so hopefully I can get you some content soon. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your guys' support so much. I will catch you guys later. Hope you have a good night.